Hello everyone, my name is Ryan O'Driscoll. I'm a regional support engineer at Beckhoff Automation, and I was asked today to do a lightning talk talking about my personal experience using generative AI for software development productivity. So, a little background about me. I'm a mechanical engineering graduate of San Jose State University, and I now work as a regional support engineer at Beckhoff Automation, supporting customers for pre- and post-sales engineering support. And I was also a previous intern here at Beckhoff in the summer of 2023, where I worked on my internship project. And a little bit about my internship project. I essentially built a XYZ gantry that could play people in chess using chess engines and computer vision. And so this essentially uses the Stockfish chess engine and then OpenCV libraries to then basically facilitate this whole process. And I also utilized Beckhoff's motion control and Beckhoff's ADS protocol to facilitate communication between the two computers. So I had one computer running the chess algorithms and the computer vision algorithms, and that sent over set point generation to the motion controller, which is another PC. And the whole point of this was to be able to demo Beckhoff's capabilities of taking non-real-time data and putting it into real-time data, which would exist on the kernel. And in order to do this, I utilized LLMs heavily to complete this project in 4 weeks. So I personally have a mechanical engineering background. Coming into the summer of 2023, I didn't have very good software knowledge, barely knew OP, but using LLMs helped me get over those barriers very quickly. So in order to complete this project in 4 weeks from concept to first prototype, I used ChatGPT to essentially help me overcome learning hurdles. Like, for example, I had never used OpenCV before. I didn't really know how masking images worked for HGV values or anything like that. So utilizing that and also being able to run applications from Python scripts, that's something I didn't know how to do. And a lot of this would take a lot of learning, but using LLMs really helped me accelerate that learning. Another thing that I used ChatGPT for was developing test scripts. So an example of this would be every day when I would come into the office, the lighting in the room would be slightly different. So the HGV values would be slightly different. So I had ChatGPT give me a script where I essentially take an image and I'm able to take my mouse and I'm able to return the HGV values off of each pixel so I can get the correct bounds of the values versus trying to guess, trying to run the program multiple times, adjusting the values, or even trying to write the script myself. I mean, that would probably take a week with my skills at the time. Another big thing is compile and runtime errors. Those, I'm sure if you do software development, those can be a real pain to get through. And you could spend a day, maybe even a whole week on just a couple of errors. So being able to take those errors, paste them in the ChatGPT, and then have them digest them was really, really helpful. And like I said before, all of these barriers and projects, they take time, they take engineering resources, and LLMs help you accelerate that productivity. And then these are just examples of some things that I would use ChatGPT for. And then, so this is the actual project. So this is the demo. And so these colored pieces are the player pieces, and it's using OpenCV to understand the move that the player makes. And then it then feeds it to the Stockfish engine, and then it comes up with a move of its own, and then compresses that into set points, and then sends that over to the motion controller. And then so this is just a XYZ gantry, and then I had 3D printed the gripper on the end, which is essentially just 4 helical gears and a worm gear, and it's just moving in and out like that. It's actually kind of funny. I have a mechanical engineering degree, but this was the only mechanical part of the project. Like 80% was programming. So like I said before, I work at Beckhoff Automation. Now, we personally are not involved too much in the AI space. We mainly deal with programming that interfaces with the real world. So like PLC programming, your motion drives, I/O, stuff like that. But we as a company try to appeal to software developers and the new age of software programmers. So, and we understand that a lot of these new developers are using LLMs heavily to increase their productivity. So what are we doing to utilize this technology to help our customers? Well, we're coming up with our own AI agent called TwinCat Co-Agent. So we have our own IDE. We develop software packages for our motion controllers, or I/O, even IoT and various data collection services. And this co-agent would be essentially a package that you plug in directly into our IDE, which is Visual Studio. And this works similar to the Copilot, but it'll help you develop PLC code, but it'll also help you network or configure I/O networks and troubleshoot I/O networks and set up drives as well. And when you talk about PLC programming and programming that interfaces with the real world, that requires kind of a unique skill set on its own. And that as well requires a certain learning barrier there that an LLM could potentially be used to help accelerate that learning and that productivity. And that's all for me. Any questions?
Your LLM, is it like from ground up, or is it trained on something?
I'm actually not too sure about the specifics of the developing of it. I know we have our internal LLM that's trained on our documentation. I believe it is a fork of ChatGPT, and it's kind of, we feed it our documentation, and then it kind of is like curated toward that. But yeah, I'm not too familiar with the specifics of that. A lot of our development is done in Germany. Hmm.
Play the game?
Yeah, so originally I was thinking of using. Oh yeah. To repeat the question, he's essentially asking, were there any sensors on the board in order to dictate which move was made by the player,
Yeah.
and then the chess engine would then determine that. I did not use sensors. I actually did think of using RFID chips, um, but I believe that that whole design would have taken a long time for me to do, and I only had 8 weeks to do it. So instead, what I did is I did OpenCV. So essentially, um, to get into like the technical part of it, um, I had. We could actually go back to the video here, so I have something to look at. So there's a blue square there. That's basically my calibration square. And then that uses OpenCV, determines the amount of pixels in the X and Y, and then that's essentially like one tile on your chess project. And then you then iterate however many over to then build out your board with the different barriers. And then from there, the pieces that are pink, from a bird's eye view, you're going to see that in certain quadrants, you're going to have a certain like bundle of pink pixels. And then so you take one picture, you save it. I believe they use hash tables to determine um, which quadrant had a bunch of pink pixels in them. And then once the player made a move, it took another picture, and then it determined, okay, what piece moved. So it compared the previous picture to the new picture. And it's like, okay, where are the pink pixels? So that's how I was able to determine which move was made by the player. Yeah, it was a lot of practice. I remember ChatGPT 3 or 3.5 came out like December 2022. And when I first heard about it, I actually used it for that spring semester to help me like with classes. So I got pretty good prompting it there and kind of understanding like, okay, you kind of have to guide it down a certain rail. You kind of have to have some idea of what you're doing in order to get it to go down the right path. And yeah, this was back in 2023. I know now it is like really, really good with 5.0, but
Yeah, I was going to say because some of the
yeah, the computer vision part is very, very interesting, and it's definitely the part I'm most interested in, having like a mechanical background and working on these projects. But yeah, it's pretty exciting to see what new projects are going to come out.
how fast is it taking?
Yeah, it's very fast paced. All right, thank. Oh, this was sped up 6x in order to do this in a minute, to play a game in a minute. But yeah, it was, yeah, it wasn't too bad. But yeah, thank you.